Welcome everybody, what's going on? It's Mike Fletcher alongside Anthony Floyer. Welcome to another edition of the Rangers Roundup and the Bulls Corner right here on YouTube.com. Well guys, tonight, double indemnity, double disaster is the key word here. Both the Bulls and the Rangers both lose here tonight. For the Chicago Bulls, it's only game two. It's a 1-1 split. We go back to the Madhouse on Madison on Friday night. But when you come to the New York Rangers, this could be the end. 3-1 down, and now they have to win three straight games to move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. The President's Trophy team, the team that many people believed could win the Stanley Cup, is now one loss away from their season coming to an end. Whoever would have thought this was going to happen? But we'll get into the Rangers in a little bit. Let's get into the Chicago Bulls first. Unfortunately, the Bulls, like I said, definitely took one on the chin tonight as the Cleveland Cavaliers got a measure of revenge on the Chicago Bulls, beating them 106-91. And let's be realistic with this. The scoring line pretty much tells the whole story, but this game was practically over in the first quarter alone. 38-18, Cleveland jumps out to an early first quarter lead. And what was the key factor in the game for Cleveland? They were nailing 3-point bombs. They were nailing 3-point shots. They were 7-10 in the first quarter alone, shooting 70% behind the arc. They were shooting more than 55% in the first quarter alone, and that pretty much doomed the Bulls from the outset. Even though in the second, third, and fourth quarter, Chicago won those quarters 27-26, 26-23, and 20-19. But let's be realistic. Like I said, this was over before it got started. LeBron James had another big game. He was very quiet in game one. He was very noisy in game two, dropping 33 points. Kyrie Irving had 21 points. James Jones uh, absolutely going off, coming off the bench with 17 points, 5 of 9 from 3-point range. The other person who actually had a big game as well, and who was also shooting lights out, was Iman Shumpert from 3-point range. And I mean, Chicago was pretty pedestrian throughout the night. Butler with 18, Bros with 14, Gibson off the bench with 11, Pau Gasol off the a starter with 11 points. Turnovers, that was the one thing that we always were talking about with Chicago. They only committed 12 tonight, so we can't really say they did, that bad. But they got out rebounded 45-37 offensively, 14-11. The shooting range, basically the shooting itself, Chicago was better at the free throw line than Cleveland, as Chicago was 20 for 25. But there was a point where Chicago just were not making free throws, and that was becoming a big problem. But they were able to fix that, get that a little bit later on in the game. 40% shoot for about 41% shooting. The Cleveland's 45%. But like I said, the 3-point shots, when you go 12-26 for 46%, but Chicago got 3-point trigger happy again, only nailing 7 of 22. You're not going to win a game like that. Chicago basically got out-muscled, out-manned. They got absolutely obliterated tonight. They didn't even, like I said, first quarter alone, it was like, thanks for coming. After that, it was just, Cleveland coasted to an easy victory on this one. So, with that said, Anthony, I give it to you.
Yes, indeed. Hello, friends. It's Anthony Floyo here with you for this edition of the Bulls Corner and the Rangers Roundup. I'm gonna do this as I'm gonna try to be as professional as I possibly can, even though I am thoroughly disgusted with both outcomes tonight. One more so than the other. I mean, when it comes to this outcome, this one was expected. I mean, you didn't really think Chicago was going to go in there and sweep two in a row from Cleveland, did you? I certainly didn't. But a split. Hey, I'm proud of that. That's great. And now we go back home for Friday night in Game 3, 8 o'clock. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, Fletch, you're absolutely right. I mean, first quarter, this game was practically over. I mean, it was 38-18 in favor of Cleveland after one, and then 64-45 at the half, and then 87-71 after three, and then the 106-91 final. So yeah, let's see. Jimmy Butler was our leading scorer. He had 18 to go with 2 rebounds and an assist. I mean, Derrick Rose, I thought was the best player in terms of, for Cleveland, for Chicago tonight. 14 points, 10 assists, and 7 rebounds. Far and away, Derrick Rose, in terms of the overall numbers, I thought was the best player tonight for Chicago. Pau Gasol, 11, no double-double. I'm very surprised. I mean, he's usually a guaranteed double-double, but he had 11 points and only 4 rebounds. That's very surprising. Joakim Noah had 4 points and 7 rebounds. Dunleavy, 8 and 4 rebounds, and Gibson had 11 to go with 2 rebounds. And yeah, I mean and you're absolutely right, Fletch. I mean, looking at the numbers here, the 3-point buckets. I mean, Chicago 7 out of 22 for just about 32%, and Cleveland 12 out of 26 for 46.2. Chicago shot about 41% from the field, and Cleveland about 45. Rebound edge went to Cleveland 45-37. Turnovers, Chicago committed only 12 turnovers, but Cleveland only had 8. That was it. And you knew LeBron was going to have a bounce back game. I mean, that was pretty much a given. 33 points, 8 rebounds, 5 assists for him. Kyrie Irving, your former Dookie, 21 points and 3 assists. Tristan Thompson, 5 points and 12 rebounds for him. James Jones, 17 points and 2 rebounds for him. Shumpert, another solid matchup as well, 15 points and 7 rebounds for him. And Kendrick Perkins got a technical foul, but that really didn't, determine the outcome of this one. 2 hours, 24 minutes, the time of the game. And yeah, this was expected. I'll be honest with you. I knew Cleveland was going to bounce back. I really didn't think Chicago was going to win 2 in a row there. That would have been awesome if they did, but no. Kevin Love is still, Kevin Love is done, and Smith is serving the second game of his suspension. But the thing is, you still got the best player in the world, LeBron James, and he obviously wanted this one more than his own life, and that's exactly what happened. And his supporting cast, stepped up in a great way. James Jones, especially. James Jones was definitely the unsung hero. I mean, with 17 off the bench, that's huge for them. And Shumpert, another great game in place of Smith, and Thompson. With the 12 rebounds there, he was the leading rebounder. And yeah, so big win for Cleveland. So this thing will at least go 5. And now we focus on going to Chicago now. Game 3 Friday night, and then Game 4 on Mother's Day, Sunday afternoon, 3:30 tip-off. And then we now know there will be a Game 5. That will be on Tuesday night back at the Q in Cleveland, and we'll take it from there. But, what he's got Tom Thibodeau, what he really needs to do, he really needs to trust the bench guys. He probably has the best bench, and he's still playing them less. He's been way too reliant on the starters. And, and I can understand. The bench guys didn't really do much tonight. I can understand that. But to me, Cleveland, this was Cleveland's game to lose. They totally outplayed Chicago tonight. And, LeBron was LeBron, simple as that. And Derrick Rose, to me, when it comes to who was the best player for the Chicago Bulls tonight, hands down, it was D Rose. No doubt about that, based on the numbers. But all in all, It was an easy win for Cleveland. I mean, it was over after one. I mean, there was no way Chicago was going to come back from that. I mean, Chicago, they led the entire game one, and it was the first time in 85 career playoff games that LeBron James had been in a game where his team did not have the lead at one point. And LeBron was like, "Hell no, I ain't letting that BS happen again." So, yeah, he brought it tonight. So, as much as I, still can't stand the guy, I mean, I'll give the devil his due on this one, and a great win for Cleveland. That was a must win, because if Cleveland had lost that game, then who knows? Maybe Chicago would have had a puncher's chance to win the series. And now I'm concerned because here's the thing: the last couple of times that the Chicago Bulls have gained an upper hand on a LeBron James led team, they win the first game. The LeBron team has gone on to win 4 in a row. We saw it in the 2011 Eastern Conference Finals. I believe it was a year or two ago. If it was, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, Chicago did the same thing, winning game one, and then Cleveland, and then LeBron's Miami Heat, went on to win 4 in a row again. And I got this weird feeling that could happen again, but I am hopeful that does not happen this time around. So, while I'm not as concerned about our other team as when it comes to Chicago, I am not, I'm not really pushing the panic button quite yet. However, when it comes to our next team, Fletch, needless to say, the minute that buzzer went off in DC, I immediately hit the panic button. And now there's nothing left to say, man, except you thought Chicago was bad. This is worse. And Fletch, nothing left to say except time to push the damn panic button, man. I never thought I'd say that, but we got to push the panic button now.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If this is the panic button, then there's a lot of fans in New York that's pushing it hard, and they're hitting that thing right now, because the New York Rangers are now in a hole that, we were here about 1 year ago. This was against the Pittsburgh Penguins. They lose 2-1 tonight to the Washington Capitals. They lose game 4, and now 3 games to 1. New York has to win all 3 games. They got to win 2 in New York, and some way, somehow, try to win 1 in Washington to possibly get back and try to successfully defend their Eastern Conference championship title. But, 1 game at a time. I think Boomer Esiason says it on the Boomer and Carton show. 1 shift, 1 period, 1 game. Let's go through the recap and let's do it quickly. There was no score after 1 period. The Rangers outshot the Capitals 13-8. In the second period, the Rangers actually had the 1-0 lead as Derek Brassard scored with 6:12 into the second period, assisted by Martin St. Louis and Rick Nash. But the lead does not hold as Andre Bobrovsky gets the goal at 16:29. Jay Beagle and Tim Gleason gets the assist in that period. Washington outshot New York 14-7. Going into the third and final period, Bobrovsky gets a second goal of the game unassisted 24 seconds into the period. New York had probably the best chance. Was a penalty shot was awarded, but Derek Brassard does not get to send it home, could not get the shot in, and there's really nothing more to say. The New York Rangers goes down again in the game, goes down by the final score 2-1. The Rangers outshot the Capitals 9-8 in the third period, but the Capitals outshot the Rangers 30-29 in the game overall, and I can now confirm you the 3 stars of the game, and let me get it for you quickly. The 3 stars of the game was number 3 was Henrik Lundqvist, number 2 Brandon Holtby, and number 1 was Andre Bobrovsky, of course, with the 2 goals. No doubt about it, he deserves that, without a doubt. And like I said, New York has now been pushed to the brink of elimination, and they have to win out in order to go on to the next round. And it looks like it could be the Tampa Bay Lightning coming off the other end because they stole one from the Montreal Canadiens tonight, and they are up 3 games to none in that series. So Anthony, it's looking like we might be seeing a Washington versus Tampa Eastern Conference final, but we can't get too far ahead of ourselves. Let's talk about this game. It's all yours.
Well, I'll tell you this. I mean, Washington and Tampa, that's going to be a hell of a series, man. I'm telling you that right now because let's face it, I don't see either one of these teams coming back, honestly. Because it is a major difference. I mean, from the team that we came back last year, the Rangers came back from 3-1 down against Pittsburgh, and one of the reasons why was because Pittsburgh didn't have that mental toughness to put it away. Newsflash: this Capital team has the mental toughness. Oh, do they have the mental toughness? And I got to credit that to their coach, Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz he's got this team playing so damn well right now. I mean, I told you I was scared of this team, Fletch, and I said it for a reason. I said I was scared to death of this team. I did not want to face this team in the second round, and my fear has come true. I told you I did not want this matchup. I was hoping for the Islanders, honestly. And my worst fear has unfortunately become a reality, as the Washington Capitals have put a 3-1 stranglehold on this series. I mean, if we didn't get that lucky win in Game 2, we would have been done. This would have been the end of it right here. But thanks to that win we had last Saturday, we live at least one more day. We go back home for Friday night. A couple of weeks ago, we celebrated, before we did the Strictly Sports show, we celebrated, the Rangers putting away Pittsburgh. Now go figure, a couple of weeks later, we could end up going from celebration to disappointment once again. And, oh, my gosh, I mean, I can't believe this. And here it is, Fletch. I'm telling you this right now. The President's Trophy curse has struck again. I mean, 2 years ago, the Chicago Blackhawks, far and away the best team, they won the Stanley Cup because they were far and away the best team. They won the President's Trophy and they won the Stanley Cup. Last year, remember, the Boston Bruins, they won the President's Trophy, and what happened to them?
Out in the second round to the Canadiens.
Yes, they did. And where are we now? We're in the second round. We won the President's Trophy, and with one more loss, we're done. We could end up getting Boston Bruined here. Oh, my gosh, I cannot believe it. I mean, needless to say, I am beyond scared right now, Fletch. I mean, I'm not too concerned about Chicago right now because that's a 1-1 thing with Cleveland, but we still got a long series there, but yeah. But even though I'm scared to death right now, I am going to say it like this. I know I've been saying this a lot lately, but I'm going to try to put a major emphasis on this one. And Fletch, I hope you join in on this later on when I throw it back to you. Friday night, the New York Rangers are coming to play. They're coming to play in the Garden on Friday night. I strongly believe it. I mean, they've had their opportunities. It's just that they just can't find a way to finish it off. I mean, they just can't find a break. I mean, it's not Henrik Lundqvist's fault. It's just that, the defense has let them down. And, Lundqvist's third star tonight, 28 saves on 30 shots. Braden Holtby, the 2-star, 28 saves on 29 shots. And, of course, Burakovsky, the hero, 2 goals in the win. And, yeah, looking at the stat sheet, as I take a look at my sheet here, when it comes to who are my stars of the game, who I thought were the best players on the ice tonight. First off, for the tough luck loser New York Rangers, James Sheppard. I thought James Sheppard had a fantastic game tonight. I can say the same thing for Chris Kreider. I thought Kreider played a fine game as well. Jesper Fast, Danny Girardi, Tanner Glass, Carl Hagelin, they played well. I'll give Rick Nash a little bit of some credit as well. I mean, he found the score sheet, although it was the assist side. Same for Marty St. Louis. And Yandel, okay, was all right. But to me, when it comes to who I felt, based on the numbers, it's a toss-up for me. It's a toss-up between Chris Kreider and James Shepard. I thought those two guys, along with Henrik Lundqvist, were the best players on the ice for the New York Rangers tonight. Now, as far as the Washington Capitals are concerned, I mean, Carl Alsner was a stud tonight. But to me, you want to know who the stud of this night was? I have to give it up to Brooks Orpik. Brooks Orpik, man. I mean, Orpik had the game of his life. 6 block shots, 6 hits. Orpik was a beast tonight, and I got to give him credit where credit is due. If we had a Broadway hat for him, I'd give it to him. There's no question. Brooks Orpik was far and away the best player on the ice for the Washington Capitals. Marcus Johansson, I thought he played a fantastic game as well with 5 hits. This was an all-around team effort. I mean, Alsner had a great game, 5 block shots on his end. Beagle was great again. He was the hero of Game 3. He had an assist tonight. Brouwer played a fantastic game tonight. Burakovsky, the hero of the night with 2 goals. Carlson played very well. Chimera played a great game as well. Kuznetsov was fantastic. Niskanen, another solid game from him. I mean, Ovechkin, Ovechkin had his moments as well. And the same can be said for Joel Ward. And I'll even throw in Tommy Wilson. He played a fantastic game tonight. I mean, it was an all-around team effort. I mean, the only guy who I really didn't think did really much of anything was Backstrom, but other than that, I mean, this was an all-around team effort. And Brooks Lake didn't really do much of anything either. But to me, I mean, I could give it all. I could give it up to the entire team. But if you want to base it on the numbers, by a slim margin, I would have to say Brooks Orpik was far and away the best player on the ice tonight for the Washington Capitals, and that is why the Washington Capitals are in the position that they are in, up 3-1. With a chance to close it out on Friday night, which I think is very, very likely, considering how they have owned the Rangers in this series. And I got to give it up, like I said, Barry Trotz. Barry Trotz for so many years was, he was the head coach of the Nashville Predators, and he had a couple of good seasons here and there, but they just couldn't get over that hump. Well, they bring him into Washington. And he has just been an absolute godsend for this team. And if anybody deserves all the credit, for where the Washington Capitals are right here and now, I have to give it up for Barry Trotz, their head coach. Man, he has done some things. He has, he's got this team playing much better, much more harder, much more. They've been more physical, they've been more dominant, and that is why the Washington Capitals, in my honest opinion, are on their way to the Eastern Conference Finals. I really do. I mean, I know I was all about keeping the faith and everything else, but I don't know about it now, man. I mean, I really don't see how we can come back this time around. I mean, hey, we came back from 3-1 down last year against Pittsburgh, but thing is, the Pittsburgh Penguins just didn't have that mental toughness. The Capitals, oh, do they have that mental toughness? They got mental toughness and then some, man. After what they've done here tonight, that collective team effort tonight. And one other thing that I felt has hindered our performance in this series, Fletch, and I know you'll agree with me on this. The loss of Zooks, Matt Zuccarello. If Zooks was around, I think this series would have been far different. Because without his solid play, I mean, because Zuccarello was he was our heart and soul, man. And without him, I think that's the reason why we're in this position right now. If he didn't get hurt in that clinching game against Pittsburgh, if he didn't take that puck to the head, and he was playing, I think there's a real good chance that this series would have been a lot different than it is right now. But nonetheless, I know New York came back from 3-1 down against Pittsburgh last year. I am aware of that. And they definitely have the team to do it. But do I think they will? I'm sorry to say, man, I just don't think so. If not Friday night in the Garden, then surely this Sunday on Mother's Day in the Verizon Center, that's when it happens. If not Friday, it's not a matter of if the Capitals beat the Rangers. It's just a matter of when. That's all there is to it. And President's Trophy curse has reared its ugly head one more time. But here's the thing, though. I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to throw the towel in. I mean, I know it sounds like I am, but that's just from my professional side. Being the analyst, being like the Barry Melrose, the Bill Clement, if you will, the Fletches, Doc Emmerich and Gary Thorne, and Steve Levy, if you will. But here's the thing. This Ranger team has, for so much during this entire season, there was always a time where, things did get bleak at times. They went on some, they had some losing streaks here and there, but they followed it up with some big-time winning streaks. They came back from 3-1 down against Pittsburgh last year. I believe in my heart of hearts, this team can do that. They can do it again. And this time around, they don't have to win 2 on the road. They only have to win 1 on the road. We got 2 in the Garden, and it starts Friday night. They're coming to play, and I strongly believe they can get one back. They can get it back Friday night. They can get it back to DC for Mother's Day Sunday. And then if they can do that, and if they can, win some more face-offs, that would really help. And the block shots, I mean, they have to block some more shots. The shots on goal, Fletch alluded to it. I mean, 30-29. I mean, it was 13-8 New York after 1, 14-7 Washington after 2, and then 9-8 New York in the third. And 0 for 1 on the power play on both ends. The Rangers had 13 penalty minutes. The Caps had 23, but here come the big numbers here. Yeah, the face-off discrepancy, not as bad as it was in Game 3. You remember it was 40-18 in Game 3. It was only 38-29. I mean, the Rangers did win some face-offs down the stretch. I noticed that. They won some face-offs, towards the end. They won a good amount, but it was just too little, too late. The hits, well, it was not really much of a discrepancy here. It was in favor of Washington, 37-31. But here comes the big stat. You remember, Fletch, in Game 3, the big stat was the face-off battle. Tonight, it was the block shots. Major discrepancy. Washington, 25 block shots. The Rangers only had 7. And that right there was the reason why we lost this game tonight. The block shots killed us, just like the face-offs did. So very simply put, they need to win the face-offs. They got to get more block shots. They got to be more physical. They can't go toe-to-toe with the Washington Capitals, or else they're going to tear them apart. And that's why the Washington Capitals are in my professional opinion, on their way to the Eastern Conference Finals for a date with the Tampa Bay Lightning, which I think will be one hell of a series. You want to be a man series, Fletch, out of the Wrestling Forum? Oh, we're going to get one when Washington and Tampa Bay square off. I mean, you want Shakespearean drama? You're going to get a lot of that. I mean, hell, Tampa gave us some Shakespearean drama. Tyler Johnson, who, in my opinion, is definitely a front runner for the Conn Smythe Trophy right now because of his outstanding play. He scored a winning goal damn near at the buzzer tonight to beat Montreal. And that is why Tampa Bay is going to put them away. They have a back-to-back. That game's tomorrow night, Game 4. And you heard it first. Tampa Bay's going to breaking out the brooms tomorrow night. I strongly believe that. But when it comes to my personal side, this Ranger team has done, they set franchise records with wins and points this year. I mean, they had one hell of a year, and I'm not giving it up just yet. Professionally, I am giving up. But when it comes to personally, as a fan of this team, like you are, Fletch, no, I am not throwing in the towel. Because this time last year, 3-1 down, what do? We came back. Never been done before. And this time around, I strongly believe this team can do it. I believe it. So I'm going to say it one more time. Keep the faith, my friends. If we book them, they will come. We just got to take it one at a time. I know it's panic button time, and rightly so, but let's not lose faith. Let's not give it up. This team can still do some they can do some magical things. It was going into Game 5 last year. That's when the magic started, and I strongly believe that magic can start again. All we have to do is, block more shots, win more face-offs, be more physical, and all we got to do is just, get a more consistent goal scorer. I mean, Brassard did his part tonight. Not taking anything away from him, but Nash has to get on the board on the goal side, not on the assist side. Same can be said for Marty St. Louis because he had a postseason for the ages last year. But pucks in the basket, boys. Biscuits in the basket. That's all. Biscuits in the basket. I'm not giving up yet, Fletch. I believe we can still do this. So once again, from a professional side, this is over. This is as over can be. But from a personal side, I'm not throwing in the towel. New York Rangers, Game 5, Friday night, Madison Square Garden. They're coming to play. Period. End of quotation. End of sentence. Drop the mic. Throw the Jim Boeheim chair. Fletch, wrap it up.
Well, it is going to be an interesting Friday night, to say the very least. The Ranger Roundup, the Bulls Corner, and Strictly Sports as we get right into the NFL season, as well as we get into the NFL draft. That will all go down this Friday night. So this is what we're going to do. On Friday, well, we'll wait and see what happens. We might do the Bulls Corner and Ranger Roundup first. Start that maybe around 10 o'clock, or we'll wait until the game is over, do a brief little summary, and then we will do Strictly Sports right behind that. Of course, it is a part. Oh, actually, then we'll have to wait. Well, you know what? This is what we'll do. Keep your eyes peeled to Twitter and Facebook, and we'll go from there. We'll figure it out right then and there. We might do it after the show. We might do it before. We don't know. So we'll wait and see what happens then. So we'll wait. We'll just have to keep you posted. So until then, for the night, for Anthony Florio, I'm Mike Fletcher. Have a good night, everybody. We'll see you Friday night for another edition of the Bulls Corner and the Ranger Roundup, and more importantly, Strictly Sports on Derek Barrera's channel SLB 2008-09 at 10:30 Eastern as we recap the NFL Draft. Have a good night, everybody.